How does historical trauma within the Native Americans affect their emotions today? There are many examples that can show how historically traumatic events have had long-lasting consequences on today's Native American people and communities. In 1979, the federal government decided that Native Americans were actually more human than they thought. New laws were put into place. Native Americans were eligible to be declared insane. Native Americans were now educable. Native Americans' religions became outlawed. One significant example of a historically traumatic event was the creation of mandatory boarding schools for Native American children. These boarding schools were off the reservation where the children were taken from their families. They were placed far enough away that it was impossible to have contact with their families or be around their cultures. More than 100,000 Native Americans were forced by the U.S. government to attend Christian schools. Now, how does this affect the families? Many times, family members who had suffered in boarding schools in this generation will not talk about it because it's too painful. Children as young as 3 and 4 were forced from their families and forced to live in a military fashion, live with no parents or parental guidance, and not speak their own language. In many cases, underwent physical brutality and sexual abuse. How did it affect this generation? They didn't learn traditional knowledge. They didn't learn parenting skills. They didn't learn how to discipline. They didn't learn how to express themselves. They became unattached from their emotions, and many more necessary life skills were not learned. These lack of skills from parents can be passed down to their children that will affect the next generation. These past traumatic issues are still felt and expressed in today's generations. These stressors and negative attachments are handed down. These problems can eventually lead to violence, abuse, and even more. With the mixed variations of high levels of violence, abuse, and stressors, the amygdala that controls the fight or flight response goes into hyperactivity and becomes overactive. A constant fight or flight response can contribute to psychiatric disorders such as substance abuse, eating disorders, deliberate self-harm, dissociative disorder, personality disorder, depression, maladaptive coping, alcoholism, and guilt. Those are just naming a few. These mixed variations can also cause a person to have insecure attachment to others. Insecure attachments can cause low self-esteem, needy, clingy behavior, inability to develop and maintain friendships, antisocial attitudes and behaviors, behavioral and academic problems at school, obsession with foods. Studies have shown that people who have experienced trauma are 4 times more likely to become an alcoholic, 4 times more likely to develop a sexual transmitted disease, 4 times more likely to inject drugs, 3 times more likely to use antidepressant medication, 3 times more likely to be absent from work, 3 times more likely to experience depression, 3 times more likely to have serious job problems, 2.5 times more likely to smoke tobacco, and a whopping 15 times more likely to commit suicide. Suicide is pretty prevalent on Native American reservations, so this one is a big one. If you feel you need help or want to seek help, here is a list of helpful resources that could help you get started. Thank you for watching my presentation.